Now the latest ITV News in London with Duncan Golestani.
Tonight, London Bridge blocked by Extinction Rebellion. The climate change protesters used a bus to cut off one of the main routes through the capital.
The junction here on Borough High Street is completely blocked, cutting off access to 3 different roads. No cars in or out. And on London Bridge, a long queue of buses.
Tonight, the protesters have been moved on by police, but the road is still blocked. We'll have the latest. Also ahead, cutting the cost of school uniforms to friends who found a way to help struggling parents. Plus,
Blango trying to get back.
From Primark to the Paralympics, the sprinter from East Dulwich who made the podium with a personal best. And the secrets of the deep, how scientists are piecing together the history of a ship sunk off Southend.
People at Southend don't really know what's on their doorstep, and to me, it's crazy. It's, you know, once it's gone, it's gone.
Good evening. London Bridge remains blocked to traffic tonight as Extinction Rebellion protests continue. Activists parked a bus across a junction at lunchtime, stopping any cars, cabs or buses from crossing one of London's main bridges. Yesterday, they targeted Tower Bridge. Police once again formed a ring of steel around the protesters and in the last hour have been removing them from the parked bus. This is London Bridge now. You can see the bus still parked across the junction, meaning there is no access to traffic across the bridge. Well, Sam Holder has been following the protests today.
They've used a big pink boat before, but this time it was an antique green bus. Extinction Rebellion once again bringing parts of central London to a standstill. This was an hour into the protest. The junction here on Borough High Street is completely blocked, cutting off access to 3 different roads. No cars in or out. And on London Bridge, a long queue of buses. Police attempted to remove those on board as quickly as possible. Protesters at the scene who gave me this footage said they believed the police were too forceful. The police told us specially trained officers were working to safely remove those on board. A window was broken, apparently during the scuffle. One protester glued themselves to a different one. I spoke to Ash, who was on the roof, at this point for more than an hour. He told me he was worried about what would happen when the police decided to get him down. Others at the protest defended the disruption.
How do we get that message across to people so when you're desperate, you take desperate measures and just hopefully people question, why on earth are we doing this? Why are we causing this chaos? Because we need people to listen.
It's been a battle of wits between police and protesters over the past 9 days. Round Borough High Street, clearly going to the protesters. But over the bank holiday, the police seemed a step ahead, managing to bring down this blockade before it was even up. Earlier today, there was a pram protest in Westminster, highlighting the risk climate change is posing to children. For some, the emotion was overwhelming.
It makes me really cross, because I don't know what kind of future my son will have.
Are you sad?
I am sad, darling.
Why are you sad?
Because the people in charge aren't doing anything.
As they marched to Downing Street, there was a brief attempt by protesters to lock together. Again, the police too quick.
Please, wake up!
Keep calm.
Tactics all too familiar in the 3rd year of XR protests. But a dozen pram pushers blocking one lane outside Downing Street, relaxed enough to take a spot of lunch, is nowhere near as disruptive as a bus blocking a major bridge. This afternoon, the arrests began. A police Section 14 order is in place, demanding protesters leave the area. Although most have left the bus, after more than 4 hours, it is still there on Borough High Street, with Ash still on top. Sam Holder, ITV News.
The numbers of refugees fleeing Afghanistan has brought into sharp focus how they are treated when they arrive here in the UK, particularly young people. A charity here in London which helps young people who have escaped conflict across the world says there needs to be more priority on support for their mental health, given the psychological trauma many have experienced. Ria Chatterjee reports.
What's going through your mind?
A lot, actually. It's like the amount I cannot like comprehend it, about my life, about my future, about my poor people.
There's an art room at the Baobab Centre for Young Survivors. Dotted around are insights into minds both traumatised and seeking refuge. Everyone who comes here has experienced and fled violence in their home countries. This person escaped a Taliban training camp.
I've been living with these nightmares for years and years. I don't think it's going to go away from me.
The pain sits close to the surface. The spike in psychological suffering has seen young Afghan people who used to come here but haven't for years calling up for support.
When I come in the UK.
The bill focuses on regular and irregular arrivals at the country.
We discuss the government's Nationality and Borders Bill, which is still in its early stages. The Home Office say they stand by their moral and legal obligations to help innocent people fleeing cruelty, but say the system must be fair. Sheila Melzak thinks there are flaws in the bill as it stands.
The consequences of violence that young people experience in their home country is really fudged over. We work with young people broadly who've had 3 levels of being overwhelmed, like what happened in their home country, what happened on the journey, and then in the UK, what's called the climate of disbelief. So their stories are often disbelieved by the statutory agencies in Britain.
A young man who was a child soldier in Sierra Leone spent his early days in London, homeless, begging, as he put it, for food. He feels young people can end up in official accommodation for asylum seekers that isn't fit for purpose.
You got older people that live in the same place, but you got a younger person that lives in the same room with that older person. I don't feel that that's the kind of support, because these young people already been through so much atrocities in their life, and they only need comfort. They will need somewhere to stay that they call a home.
And when you arrived here, did you feel like you were given the psychological support that you needed?
Actually, opposite. I was just put it in a condition that lots of psychological, pressure was put it on me, and I was like in a kind of detention center. No light, nothing. It was just horrible. I grew like few grey hairs in just 2 nights, actually.
The Home Office says local authorities are responsible for offering mental health support to so-called looked-after children in their area, adding they've offered £20 million of additional funding for unaccompanied asylum-seeking children. Ria Chatterjee, ITV News.
As the new term begins, 2 men from Croydon have set up a scheme to give free blazers to hundreds of secondary school pupils who get free school meals. The musician George and his friend Jamal Rao want to help families who struggle with the costs of kitting out children each year. According to the Children's Society, the average uniform costs £315 per primary school pupil and £337 for a secondary pupil. 1 in 5 parents have suffered financial hardship as a result of purchasing their child's school uniform. Well, the free school uniform initiative will be available to families in the borough of Croydon. And we can talk now to George and Jamal. Hello to you both. Tell us how this scheme came about.
How's it going? So yeah, me and Jamal, we've been primary school together, and we were looking at, there's like one shop that sells secondary school uniforms in Croydon. And last year, there was news reports about there being 5-hour queues, extortionate prices, really poor delivery costs as well. So Jamal came up with the idea that we could do it ourselves via e-commerce.
And essentially with the Marcus Rashford's free school meals campaign, we thought that let's feed off of that and actually be inspired by his story and apply that to uniforms, which, as you said, a lot of parents find hardship utilising that.
How did your experiences grow up influence you getting involved in this?
First thing that comes to mind for me is memories of my mum buying me like a huge blazer when I was year 7 that I wore all the way through to year 11. And I just thought, for me, it's quite embarrassing, you know what I mean? Going home from school with a huge blazer that covers the whole of your arms, and by the time you're in year 11, it's tattered, it's ruined, and you don't really think about how expensive it is because you're just a kid. But then as you grow older, talking to parents that we both know, you start to realise how expensive it is. And for me, it's like if parents can't afford food, which is like the basic necessity for their child, how are they going to afford uniform? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the uniform is just completely out there, isn't it, for other children to see, and you can be very stigmatised by it. Different schools have different rules. Some are very strict and they have lots of logos. Some don't, and they allow generic, brands and items from supermarkets. Do you think schools could be doing more to make this easier for parents?
Oh yeah, definitely. As you said, if there is established a base for all parents to be able to afford school uniforms, applying those generic bits of attire would definitely help parents be able to afford uniforms. Obviously, there are some schools that require full bits of school kit and sports kit, but establishing that base where you can get generic things from supermarkets, from other big corporations, it will definitely help parents.
And just finally, if people are interested, they're eligible and live in the borough, how can they get help?
So all the information is on pickneyuniforms.com. That's PICKNI uniforms.com. We are open to donations. We're open to more schools coming to us and, applying to have the kids from their schools receive some free uniforms, because we're just here to serve. We want to do all we can. So, yeah.
It's a great idea. George and Jamal, thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
A 16-year-old boy has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a man died from a head injury in Hounslow. Mahmoud Shamshi was found seriously injured on Staines Road almost 2 weeks ago and died in hospital 3 days later. The 16-year-old was arrested on Saturday and has been released on bail. Police have released images of a man they want to speak to after a series of assaults in Stamford Hill 2 weeks ago. In one incident, a man was struck on the head with a bottle. In another, a 14-year-old boy was approached and assaulted. To Tokyo now, and the South London sprinter making his name on the international stage. The Paralympics is only the second international competition of Columba Blango's career, but he finished in style with a bronze in the T20 400-metre race. It was a pretty different day at work from Primark, where he has been working to support his running career. Jaranpreet Kera reports.
Bronze for Blango. His first Paralympics, a new personal best, and now a medal. With 120 metres to go, Blango, in the white shirt here, was lagging behind.
Blango's got a bit of work to do here.
Seconds to spare, he pushed ahead to win bronze, giving his all when it counted most.
I am so proud of him, and the family is very proud of him. My friends and colleagues, his mom is over the moon. Mom is so excited.
Columba's dad, also called Columba, was an Olympic decathlete for Sierra Leone, going on to become mayor of Southwark.
I know the feeling of taking part in the Olympic Games. It is the ultimate sporting arena where everyone wants to be.
For Columba, the road to the stadium hasn't always been smooth. Born with blood clots on his brain, he couldn't speak until he was 6. Since he discovered his love of running, he's supported himself by working at Primark, fitting in training sessions alongside studying tourism at Greenwich University.
His life is difficult, but he's come through. He's an hard worker. He's a battler. He's an hard worker, and that's what got him to the Olympic Stadium.
Here at his club in Mile End, even fellow runners didn't know how talented he was.
Columba's so down to earth, and it's only when the tracks reopened after lockdown that we saw them zooming around, and Columba's at the front, and then he's winning, you know, all these different leagues, and then he's European record holder.
After a year of training in the local park, Columba burst onto the para-athletics scene this summer, winning the T20 400 metres at the European Championships and breaking the European record.
A very good run for the Great Britain athlete.
While fast feet might run in the family, Columba's always stayed in his own lane.
Columba's dad's an Olympian too. Is that what made him dream of the Paralympics?
Columba never had a dream about going to the Olympics. He just wanted to work hard to see how far he can get in the sports. And this year he's become European champion, European record holder, now Olympic bronze medalist.
A big smile under that mask.
That bronze is certainly something to smile about. And with the year he's had, who knows what the future holds? Janampreet Khera, ITV News.
And on the same day Columba made his arrival on the international stage, a Paralympic great was departing. David Weir raced on the track for the final time, finishing last despite setting a personal best in the fastest T54 1500-metre race in history. He bows out with a total of 6 Paralympic medals from the 2008 and 2012 Games. Still to come, it might not feel like we've had a summer, but today it's officially over. Sally is here to explain all, and she's been to meet the skipping Sikh, now training for the London Marathon. But first, DJ Bobby Lavigne is used to having his twin brother by his side, playing to the crowds or in their radio slot. But since March last year, life has completely changed. Both contracted COVID, but while Bobby recovered quickly, Steve was put into a coma and then developed an extremely rare brain condition, which means he can't move or speak. Now Bobby is holding a fundraiser for Steve at the Ministry of Sound. He's been speaking to Martin Stew.
So here's Stevie. This is our Groove Odyssey night at the Ministry of Sound a few years ago, and that's me on the deck.
As Kiss FM presenters and club DJs, identical twins Bobby and Steve Lavigne have been at the heart of house music for nearly 40 years.
This is Stevie having his little dance. He'll be back doing that again soon, believe me.
Since they were born 5 minutes apart in 1963, the boys have played together, worked together, and in March last year, caught COVID together. Both were put into induced comas, but whilst Bobby has recovered, a rare brain condition triggered by the virus has left Steve unable to communicate or move.
There's been no improvement in such like awareness and responses, but Steve's still there. He hasn't declined in all this time, which gives us all the hope.
Bobby visits him regularly at his nursing home.
But me and Steve, it's a connection that is just way beyond. Do you know what I mean? I just get a vibe off of Steve. Not all the time, but something happens, you know, and even though Steve's not focused on you sometimes, you know, you could be doing something, playing music, and then he'll just look at you and you can feel that energy and that vibration. Steve's in there and he just can't communicate right now, but he will do. This is his beautiful wife, Julie, giving him a well-deserved massage.
They now want to bring him home to his wife, Julie.
We want Steve back how Steve was, you know, but just to have him back where he can be Steve at a level will be enough for me. Do you know what I mean? We want him back singing and dancing, yeah. But if he's just singing or he's just dancing, whichever, we'll take either.
Making the house suitable for providing care will cost thousands. So Bobby's called on his musical mates for help. And within hours of deciding to put on a fundraising club night, superstar DJs including David Morales and Trevor Nelson have offered to perform for free.
October the 3rd, the fundraiser at Ministry of Sound is going to be a very, very, very emotional day, obviously. We're going to be surrounded by, you know, just people who have come and support Steve, and the love is, but this is what we want, you see. We believe in the energy and the mass people coming together for support of one thing or one person or whatever to give that energy. Yeah, it's going to be major. It really is.
I'm assuming you've told Steve about this in your visits.
100%.
If he was able to communicate with you at the moment, what do you think he'd be saying to you about it?
I think he'll be saying to me, well done. Yeah.
Have a good party in his honour.
Yeah, definitely.
Bobby Lavinia ending that report from Martin Stew there. Special arrangements were made to allow the public to see Princess Diana's statue this afternoon on the 24th anniversary of her death. The statue was unveiled last month. The historic royal palaces allowed access to the cradle walk around the sunken garden. Because of the pandemic, the area has only been open to the public from Wednesdays to Sundays.
We came in just to see the statue. We are very, very big fans of Diana for all her life. I was very sad when she passed away. I'm from Colombia, and she was my mom idol, and of course my idol, because we had been through all her history, through magazines, movies and everything.
Well, we just live across the road. She was our neighbour. We used to see her in the Diana coffee shop having breakfast with the kids, and I was here when she died 24 years ago. So we just pay our respects, really.
Next tonight, Rajinder Singh is known as the Skipping Sikh because he's a Sikh who skips, but he also runs and is going to be doing a bit of both at the London Marathon in October, the same month he turns 75. Earlier this year, he was awarded an MBE for his lockdown exercise videos and his fundraising. He's a busy man, but in between training and volunteering, he made time to talk to Sally.
The Skipping Sikh is known for skipping at home, in the park, even at Buckingham Palace when getting his MBE. But he's about to swap jumping for jogging. For at the age of 74, nearly 5, Rajinder Singh is in training for no less than the London Marathon. The last time we met, Rajinder got me skipping, so it seemed only right that this time I joined him again in another finely chosen outfit for a jog.
Let's just recap that, Rajinder.
Yeah.
You are going to run and do some skipping as well as the running. So not skip at the same time, but as well as.
I try my best to stop somewhere, places, and do some skipping as well.
So you are going to be pretty exhausted at the end,
It will be my age as well, it will be 75, and it is difficult.
But how do you feel about it?
I'm very grateful to people who are supporting me.
Yeah, you reckon you can do it?
Yes, I can't guarantee, but God making me to do it.
Incredibly, Rajinder would have skipped it, but couldn't on safety grounds. Now, during lockdown, he raised nearly £15,000 for the NHS with his skipping and inspired many to get fit.
If you try your best, slowly, within a month, you can start skipping. Within a year, you can beat me.
This time, he's running for MenCap, a charity that helps people with learning disabilities.
You name it, he never stops.
He's a good man to marry.
Oh, he's a lovely, perfect husband.
I'm kidding.
And I'm glad I've got him.
Oh, Rajinder, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm very hot now.
Rajinder knows it will be hard, but he's always wanted to do this.
When you see people putting medal around your neck, it makes you so great. You've done something better in your life, and which will stay until I go from this planet.
At the end of the race, he hopes to have his rope with him, quite literally skipping across the line.
I mean, it might have helped you keep up with Mr. Singh if you changed your footwear. Just saying.
These are actually surprisingly comfortable for running in.
It didn't look like it, I've got to say.
So there's a bit of a wonk, isn't there, as she runs?
Anyway, what's this about it being the end of meteorological summer? Is that it then? It's over?
It's a good word, isn't it? Meteorological. Yes, so first day of autumn tomorrow. I keep saying spring, but first day of autumn tomorrow. And the summer we've had, I think everyone feels, has been pretty disappointing. And despite having this high pressure at the end of it, it's not really delivered us anything other than cloud. So, well, it's been quite comfortable. Disappointing, I think, on most people's feelings for it. Anyway, let's take a look at all the details. Here they are right now.
Making the most of it, whatever the weather. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
Well, I hope you had a lovely Tuesday, despite the fact that that cloud is still having a right old knees up outside. And for the first day of September, tomorrow, no change whatsoever. We keep the cloudy weather where it's thick enough, could get the odd light shower, although lots of places staying dry. And we've still got that cooling northerly breeze.
What's going on? Well, we've got this high pressure still in place. It's still settled but cloudy. But as we head into Friday, it's going to start to edge away. And then we'll start to see some slightly more unsettled conditions returning, perhaps into the second half of the weekend. So keep an eye on the forecast for the timings of that. Now, back to this evening. You might get a fleeting amount of blue sky out there, but still that cloud pretty dominant and in fact thickening overnight and perhaps a few showers around as well. But those temperatures should hold up into double figures, perhaps particularly in the towns and cities. And then tomorrow, for the first day of meteorological autumn, we do it all again. So still plenty of cloud outside, very dominant. Where it thickens again, you could see the odd spot of rain. There are a few breaks in that cloud, not too many. Don't get too excited. Although it's staying mostly dry, still with that northerly breeze quite cool, and the temperatures getting up into the high teens again, 20 degrees if we're lucky. Into the evening, well, mostly dry, but still very cloudy outside, so no real change at all. But as we move into the rest of the working week, for Thursday and Friday, there is a hope of a little bit more sunshine out there, and therefore the temperatures should respond accordingly, maybe just a degree warmer. For Saturday, well, perhaps starting not too bad. There might be a bit of sunshine around, but then it looks like it'll cloud over, the chance of the odd shower around, and for Sunday, the potential for more showers moving in. Like I said, do keep an eye on the forecast. I'll see you later on. Cheerio.
Octopus Energy sponsors ITV London weekday weather.
And finally, its remains have been partially buried at the bottom of the Thames estuary for 350 years. But now experts are using new technology to bring it back to life. The London, a magnificent 17th century wooden warship, was once one of the most important vessels in the Commonwealth Navy. It sank just off Southend Pier in 1665. Sediment has been keeping it quite well preserved, but the wreckage is now under threat. It's hoped by digitally mapping it, some of the history could be saved. Charlie Frost reports.
The London, one of only 3 wooden warships of its kind built in the 17th century. It was once part of the convoy carrying King Charles II as he returned to reclaim the throne following the death of Cromwell.
But in 1665, when it was about 5 miles from here, just off the end of Southend Pier, making its way to take part in the Second Anglo-Dutch War, it accidentally blew up. The gunpowder on board had caught fire, the explosion splitting the ship in half. 300 lives were lost as it sunk to the bottom of the Thames estuary.
Forgotten for more than 300 years, in 2012 it was rediscovered by Leigh-on-Sea diving couple Stephen and Carol Ellis.
Amazing, really amazing. Yeah, it's a truly different type of dive. I mean, we've dived all over the world, but this is something else.
But even though Stephen and Carol know the London like the back of their hands, they jumped at the chance to work with Historic England to digitally map the ship, with the hope the state-of-the-art technology can provide an accurate record before it erodes beyond recognition.
People in Southend don't really know what's on their doorstep, and to me, it's crazy. It's, you know, once it's gone, it's gone. You'll never get it back, you know, so, you know, that's why it's important.
The last big excavation of the site 7 years ago pulled up many treasures, including a bronze sundial, shoes and, impressively, a gun carriage. And on their weekly dives, Stephen and Carol keep making discoveries as the estuary bed begins to expose more of the wreck, both a thrill and a worry.
That one, the really big one, that container ship will be passing the site soon. And you've got another one, another big container ship outbound. That's going to be passing the ship very shortly. So it's the wash and the wake of these ships what are having the effect on the site.
Not known for its clear blue waters, the Thames can be a murky dive. 50-centimetre visibility is considered a good day by Stephen and Carol. That's why this new tech is even more important. It works like a sat-nav, tracking the divers, giving essential detail.
What we need to do is to get a better understanding of how the site itself is eroding, which bits are most at risk, and therefore how we should be targeting our resources.
As every shipping container passes, the risk to the London increases. But the hope is that this new technology can help save, or at the very least record, a special piece of the past for the future. Charlie Frost, ITV News in Essex.
And that is it for now. We're back with the latest. After news at 10, coming up Charlene with the ITV Evening News. But from me and the rest of the London team, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.